This week in comic books and World's Finest, number 26, we get more fifth dimensional imp shenanigans, is the best way to put it. And possibly a little bit of a lesson in there. Over in Marvel, in Incredible Hulk giant size, for some reason we got a story and a reprint. I don't know why. We'll talk about it. And in Independence, we get more characters in Cobra Commander. And of course, I finally got a copy of Redcoat. I want to share that with you as well, along with a few other comic books. But as you can see, I'm wearing my grumpy old vet hat. You want to know how you can fuel your grumpiness? Check this out. Hey, what's going on, folks? This is your boy Pocan Joe to talk to you about Coffee Brand Coffee. We serve people that are tired of gimmicky advertising and branded companies that want to lecture you. At Coffee Brand Coffee, all we want to do is serve you freshly roasted coffee wherever you're at, whenever you want it. Consider Coffee Brand Coffee. Check us out, check our reviews out, and use promo code POCANJOE or the link down in the description to save yourself some money. Give me the opportunity to get you a delicious cup of coffee. All right, you bunch of weirdos, let's dive into this week's comic books. We're going to kick it off with World's Finest, number 26. This is great, and this is a continuation onto our kind of fifth dimensional beings and what they kind of see as the representation of what we would consider the Justice League in our universe, or in the mainline universe, I should say. So what we got here is we got Mixieplix. He goes off and takes off with Batman. You know him. He flies around and they're all powerful, basically. And then Superman takes Batmite with him, and they fly off because a bunch of imps from the fifth dimension have teamed up with villains. And they kind of admire the villains. They've taken on the persona of the villains, and they're kind of powering them up. So shenanigans happen all over where the bad imps are overpowering the bad guys, and of course the good imps in this one, not that there are any good ones, we'll explain that in a second, are kind of hyping up the heroes too, giving them different superpowers. Robin gets some superpowers in this for a little bit, the whole 9 yards. This is great, but what this story is really telling us, and Mark Waid is good at this. I'll give Mark Waid some credit. He's good at having kind of a message in his writing. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it misses. Personal perspective, right? In this one, we find out, or if you remember, anytime these characters have existed, Mixieplix has never really been a bad guy. He's trying to have fun. He's entertaining himself, food and water and all this other stuff. He's beyond all that. So him and interacting with things is fun for him. Same thing with Batmite. He thinks he's helping Batman by doing all this stuff and giving him adventures and helping him out. But the truth is, he's just making his life miserable. And in this one, Superman kind of explains that to him in the best way possible by putting him in this situation. Now that these two are having to fight a bunch of bad imps and having their friend imps get destroyed too. So it's really interesting, that kind of lesson, right? And empathy. That's ultimately what we're talking about, right? If Batmite learns what empathy is. Will Mixieplix? I don't know. Will the other imps that are involved in this kind of stop seeing this as just we're just having fun, not understanding the circumstances that they're putting other people through? I don't know. I hope they do, though. I think that would be a great, great lesson. A lot of people can get something from. So yeah, definitely hitting on this. Good stuff. I recommend it. Next, John Constantine, Hellblazer. I don't know where this thing's going. I had kind of a theory, and the theory is still solid. But in this one, where for some reason we end up in some Midwest town, someplace where football is king and the kids in football are rock stars, that kind of over-exaggerated stereotype. And apparently the kids went and did a bad thing. A very bad thing. An illegally bad thing. And the town covered it up because they're football stars. A little over the top. Right? And John Constantine, of course, solves the murder, finds out why the land is poisoned, which is ultimately affecting Swamp Thing, who he's trying to heal so they can go off on the main story. A lot of side stories this week. It's kind of weird. I don't know. I've never seen a comic book series over exaggerate stereotypes in it and trash America so bad from the point of view of a scoundrel, scoundrel, rogue scallion, right? Just not a good guy. I've never seen a comic book do this before, where they kind of do this and it kind of trashes everything about America and yada, yada, yada. Now, I get it. Some people can have problems with America or whatever, but this just seemed kind of, I don't know. It just seemed very weird to me, and I don't know why the writers are going down this route to tell their story about John Constantine and his issues and how horrible of a person he is and the things that he does to people. It has to drag an entire, I don't know, populace down with it. It's weird, and it reads weird. And it doesn't read like a story. It reads like somebody's personal views, and I hope that's not the case. But yeah, this is kind of missing me a little bit here. I don't know. But I said I would chase it down, so we'll chase it down. All right, next. Number 2, we got Ghost Rider, Final Vengeance. So this is just kind of an updated story, really. If you don't know who the Red Hood is, if you don't know his backstory or why a lot of people kind of like him, you kind of get that kind of caught up in here. And then Ghost Rider's Spirit of Vengeance kind of dumps himself into Red Hood, which creates this kind of interesting scenario where he knows he's going to be dropping bodies left and right. And of course, you can't be just dropping bodies everywhere, right? You got to have a cleanup crew. So he teams up with vampires because they can take care of the mess, I guess. Okay. All right. That's a weird way to go. But in this, we haven't forgotten about Johnny Blaze and what's happening to him. So we kind of get a little update to that in there as well. So he's not completely out of the story. He's just kind of set in the background for a second where we kind of reinvent Red Hood here a little bit in a more updated story. All in all, it's okay. If you don't know, basically it's a basic Ghost Rider story. He senses bad people, he drops bad people, and the levels of bad don't have levels to them. It's just bad. If you did this one thing this one time, vengeance is upon you, right? So he has to negotiate that as he kind of works with the spirit of vengeance in this a little bit, right? Kind of like that voice that argues with you, you know. Make your wife angry? Don't make your wife angry. Make your wife angry? Don't make your wife angry. Pushing buttons. Right? That voice. All right. Moving on. We got giant-sized Hulk number 1. This, I don't know why I picked this cover. Don't judge me. Please don't judge me for this cover. It's kind of ridiculous, but this is kind of placating into the main storyline that we've been reading in Incredible Hulk here lately. We get introduced to another monster that kind of rides the railways, and these kids are kind of like hoboing it throughout the United States and not realizing that because you jumped on a train, you kind of have to pay a toll to this particular monster, right? And of course, our boy Bruce Banner is on the train as well, and of course, you know, he has his little porcelain doll. I'm having trouble talking today, and I can only edit this so much, so please work with me on this particular comic book review. But as he has his little porcelain doll with his friend Charlie in it, you know, the monster wants that as the toll. Of course, that's not going to work. They get into a fight, yada, yada, yada. And then we get a back issue reprint in the back of it. So it didn't need to be a giant size. I don't know. The way we're doing giant size now and issues like that, I'm kind of starting to have a little problem with it. A lot of them are taking back issues and just kind of gap filling to make it a thicker book. Kind of like the thought of a candy bar, right? Being bigger when they just add more wrapping to it. It's kind of weird. So yeah, didn't need to happen. Next, we get Cobra Commander number 4. This is fun. It's brilliant. It's on point. We find out about Energon. We find out that a scientist can actually take Energon and expand it, you know, making more of it. Kind of like what I'm doing with Silver over in the Evil Layer Project this month, by the way. Shameless plug. Okay, and the different ways to use it. We also get like a quick cameo of the Insecticons, you know, the insect transformers they did there in the late 80s. Those were fun. We get that. We get Globulus was actually double-crossing Cobra Commander and told Nemesis Enforcer to do away with him because he's just a trash person. Based. And then we find out who the Dreadnoughts have been working with while they're collecting all this energon. They've been selling it to, of course, Destro in this. So we get a quick cameo of Destro in there as well. But the question is, to the community, who is the scientist that's helping? I was thinking Dr. Mindbender, right? But you can't tell because he's like all shaggy. He's been like a slave underneath this basement doing this stuff for the Dreadnoughts for so long now. You can't really just point and recognize the character with his costume and everything. So I'm hoping it's Dr. Mindbender. That would be kind of cool. You know, he was a dentist, right? Seriously, if you look at his information card from the 80s, he was a dentist. A brilliant dentist, no doubt, but he was a dentist. So maybe, I don't know. It'd be fun, though. All right, moving on. So I missed this book last week. Luckily, my comic book store was like, I got you, fam. Right? And, of course, I went with the wraparound cover because we're going to see a lot of these characters out there, especially this guy here. I'm excited about that one. And, of course, anybody that's wielding knives and dropping bodies. I really like this. We got the immortal scoundrel, right? He's kind of a coward, kind of a douchebag, uses people for his own purposes, yada yada. But he's kind of lighthearted and fun about the whole thing. Yes, you can say that's been played over and over and over again. You know, we can point to Deadpool and other characters as well. But it's always a fascinating character to have in there because there's always some moral lesson. I wonder what his moral lesson is going to be in this one. I don't know. What I do really like about this is, again, that whole 1700s vibe to it. It's modern comic book art brought up in the old-time ways from 1700s to 1800s and so on and so forth. I kind of like this. I like it when it's done in a modern view. If we look at some of the founding fathers, we find out witchcraft was involved, some magical woo-woo happening, which you have to do. When you're playing with alternate histories, you have to add something magical that happened, right? Some woo-woo. So I'll accept in this one. Thanks to old Benjamin Franklin there himself. He was kind of trying to live forever. And of course, he falls in and big shenanigans start happening, and he never changes his ways for like 200 years. He has to learn all these lessons. And we see historical figures throughout this. Betty Ross, I'm assuming it was Betty Ross. Betty Ross to, Paul Revere, John Hancock wielding magical fireflies, the whole 9 yards. So, fun, entertaining. It's definitely part of this whole Granger universe that's going on right now. Geiger. It's the whole part of the Geiger universe. It's just one of those days, folks. They can't all be home runs. But it's part of the Geiger universe. So yeah, I'm on board with it. I've been loving this whole Ghost Machine thing going on right now. It's beautifully written, great artwork in it, and they're purposely making this for the traditional comic book reader out there. Nothing too crazy, nothing too weird, no weird views. Just, hey, here's a character. This is what the character does. This is what we're going to put the character through. And this is the outcome. And I really like that. Good stuff. Good, exciting stuff. So what's coming up? I'm going to have a unboxing for you here soon. My uncle sent me some comic books that he found in a estate sale. So he sent those to me, and I will share those with you, along with some stuff that I picked up at a yard sale. You may remember, if you saw me on Instagram, I posted a picture of some long boxes. I was just driving by. A guy had a bunch of long boxes out there, and I was like, let's show some content. Plus, a lot of this stuff I'll probably end up keeping. So keep your eyes open for that. Hit that notification bell. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. And don't forget, I have another channel. I got merch, I got coffee. I got all that stuff. You guys already know all that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.